Hello everyone, this is Yas speaking. I was bartender of 5-star hotel in Tokyo. I made this channel to introduce real Japanese whiskey distillery. I pick up Eigashima Distillery today. It was founded in Hyogo by Eigashima Shuzo in 1964. I'll introduce it according to this agenda. There are 3 parts: history, facility, and special topic. At first, shall we start from their history? Before whiskey distillery, Eigashima Shuzo was a sake brewery founded in 1888, which is the Japan modernization period started by American fleet arrival in the middle of 19th century. In that time, many innovators were trying to develop European-style drink like wine, brandy, whiskey, and etc. Eigashima Shuzo was also a very innovative company, so that they built own glass bottle factory and transport ship for their sake by themselves. They also started to produce whiskey in 1919. It is 4 years earlier than establishment of first Japanese whiskey distillery Yamazaki by Suntory. But it must be imitation whiskey, which made from neutral spirits and caramel color additive, as same as other whiskey made by other Japanese company in that period. So that they've never said that they are first Japanese whiskey distillery. They are not only very innovative, but also very honest company. Birth background. After World War II, many sake breweries started bottling whiskey from import bulk or imitation whiskey, and some of them founded their own distillery, as showing list. Eigashima also started whiskey distillation in 1964 by pot still from Silver Whiskey Company. Towa Jozo had whiskey distillery in Narasanjo, and their silver whiskey got big success in the market, so that they changed the company name to Silver Whiskey. But they got serious damage by fire and bankrupt in 1964. Their stock cask were taken over by Morozov Shuzo, and pot still were taken over by Eigashima Shuzo. 35 years after starting whiskey business, Eigashima Shuzo started real Japanese whiskey distillery. Later days. There was big whiskey boom in Japan around 1980, and the domestic demand of the whiskey were double of today. It was led by local whiskey producers, especially Maltz whiskey by Honbo Shuzo, Golden Horse whiskey by Towa Shuzo, and Cherry whiskey by Sasanokawa Shuzo. There are more than 20 whiskey producers, including Eigashima Shuzo. These whiskey were called as Ji whiskey, which means local whiskey in Japanese. Eigashima sold 1.8 million liter whiskey in 1 year as their peak around 1980. So that they built new distilleries building, which we can see today, and replaced pot still to new bigger one in 1984. The name of the book in the screen center is Tsukai Ji Whiskey Sengen, which means excitement, local whiskey declaration. It was not described, but declaration seemed to be challenge declaration, from Ji whiskey to major whiskey. But the whiskey boom was going to end, and long time ice age was coming. Whiskey market in Japan had shrunk drastically from 1984 to 2008. After quarter century ice age, market size in 2008 was only 20% of 1980. Many local Japanese whiskey distilleries were closed, as you see the list in the screen. Even third biggest whiskey group, Sanraku Ocean, gave up whiskey business and closed both Karuizawa and Kawasaki distilleries. Only Eigashima and Saburo could continue production as whiskey distillery, except for two major companies, Suntory and Nikka. So, Eigashima Distillery could survive. However, Eigashima released single malt whiskey Akashi in 2007, but could sell only 811 bottles due to weak demand. Today's Eigashima Distillery was mainly producing low-price whiskey, including big plastic package before. These were made from mainly import bulk whiskey and a little bit their own distilled malt whiskey. However, they released their first single malt whiskey in 2007 and expanded single malt whiskey variation. They released many different cask type Akashi single malt whiskey as you see. They also started some bottles only for exporting. But please note that Shin has two different types. One is made from Eigashima and the other made by Niigata Beer, who started to import whiskey bottling business in Japan in 2018 with the name of Shinobu Distillery. Eigashima also launched not only new blended whiskey bottles in Japan, but also whiskey bonbon chocolate. Even counting only single malt bottles, the number of shipments in 2018 reached nearly 450,000 bottles. So let's review their facility. There are one wash pot stills and one spirit pot still. Current pot stills are third generation, installed in 2019, and made by Miyake Seisakusho in Japan. These pot stills are standard type, but same design with first generation pot stills, which was taken over from silver whiskey. Condenser is shell and tube type. All mash tanks and fermentation tanks are stainless one. Annual production capacity is 60,000 liters, but it might be increased by third generation pot stills and or additional production shift, because they are producing whiskey during off-season of sake production. How is their whiskey? Their whiskey is normally spicy and often woody, but of course it depends on cask. And their whiskey distilled in 1990s seems to be more peated than others. So what is the most unique point of Eigashima? I would like to mention to their distillery name change. They named White Oak Distillery in 1984 when their current distillery building was constructed, but it was renamed to Eigashima Distillery in 2018 or 19. White Oak was originally their whiskey brand name. English name was very popular for whiskey brand before Ice Age, like Mal's Whiskey by Honbo Shuzo, Cherry Whiskey by Sasanokawa Shuzo, and Sunshine Whiskey by Wakatsuru Shuzo. Although Japanese name is much popular for Japanese whiskey name today, like Shinshu, Yamazakura, and Saburo Maru. Regarding to whiskey by Eigashima Distillery, Akashi brand became much popular and famous than White Oak brand today. This is why they renamed whiskey distillery name. There are 8 buildings in Eigashima Shuzo, and the newest building is Eigashima Distillery today. On the other hand, they also have Shalman Winery in Yamanashi Prefecture, which is producing wine from various grapes, including Cabernet Franc, Semillon, Sauvignon Blanc, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Koshu. They can use these wine casks for their whiskey aging. So, how to visit there? Visiting Eigashima Distillery takes 1 hour by train from Sannomiya, which is the main railway station of the prefecture capital Kobe City. It opens from Monday to Friday and a few Saturdays. English tour is available. Reservation is mandatory in 2 working days advance. Kobe is a very fashionable city with a Bay Area Harborland, luxury department store Daimaru, and bar area in downtown. Nadagogo, which is one of the biggest sake breweries area in Japan, is very close to Kobe. You can see the beautiful view of the Kobe city, especially evening time, from Mount Rokko. If you go further west of Eigashima Distillery, you reach to Himeji City, which has World Heritage Himeji Castle, built in 1580. There are also Buddhist temple Engyoji. I'm also writing whiskey column in my website. It covers not only each Japanese whiskey distillery, but also other topics about Japanese whiskey, like history, news, category, and regulation programs. If you wish to know some more about Japanese whiskey, kindly visit it. I added direct link on the overview of the movie. Thank you for watching this movie. If this movie is interesting for you, please subscribe to my channel. And if you like it, please thumb up. I will continue to introduce real Japanese whiskey distillery in this channel. See you next time.